Hi everybody, this is Angie from Tourangie.com, and this is Hartsville, South Carolina. I'm on West Carolina Avenue. I was originally on Route 151 and took a left onto Carolina Avenue. There's like a CVS right there at the corner, but I'm about 2 minutes into the drive. Basically because the first part of that drive is, it's beautiful country. You can tell the trees and everything. It's just a lot of houses and different things, beautiful houses. But one thing I wanted to talk about right in here is the gardens. Camilla Gardens. It's beautiful. It's an old plantation house. We're going to talk a little bit about the history. But there is a huge garden there, and it's, for the public to come and see. The Hart family were the people that originally built the plantation there, but the land originally was granted to Benjamin Davis in 1772 by King George III. And of course, after that, it changed hands many times, but then Thomas Edward Hart obtained the property. In 1817, he built the house, which overlooked the floodplain of Black Creek. And his wife Hannah also resided there. And it's like a typical plantation house. Eventually, they ended up having 1,223 acres of cotton, tobacco, and crops. But Thomas was the first postmaster of the area, and he was a merchant, a justice of the peace, captain of the local militia. And that is how Hartsville became known as Hartsville, is because of Thomas Hart. But that plantation house, there is a reason why there are gardens there. It is a 60-foot drop overlook from the plantation house to the floodplain of the Black Creek. And that elevation drop is what helps grow the variety of beautiful plants in the area. There are plants there that are blooming all season. Then there's summer, spring, fall plants. It is a sight. There's a beautiful boardwalk. I highly suggest, if anybody is coming to Hartsville or driving by here, just stop there at the gardens. You will not be disappointed. Camilla Gardens. So that was at the very beginning of the drive, and honestly, it was way back there. It's on the left. There's not even a really huge sign for you to see it. Just pull it up on your phone's GPS and go to it. But now we're going to talk about the next part that's really important to this town of Hartsville, this city, and that's Coker University. So Coker University actually owns the plantation house and everything now, but the university itself was named after a man with the last name Coker, James Lyde Coker. Now, his dad was Caleb Coker, and Caleb had a carriage shop here in the Hartsville area. But James Lyde really became known for his philanthropy. He was an industrialist, merchant, businessman, the founder of Sunoco Products Company. You know Sunoco, right? Anyway, also the Coker University. But like I said, he was the son of Caleb and Hannah Lyde Coker. He is the great grandson of Captains Robert Lyde, who moved to South Carolina from Roanoke, Virginia in 1740, and Thomas Coker, who moved to South Carolina from Brunswick, Virginia in 1735. And both of those men fought in the Revolutionary War under Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. But Coker and his descendants contributed to the economic, political, and cultural life of South Carolina. So, as you can tell, we're in the downtown area of Hartsville. It's a cute little downtown. I just love it with the trees. There's all kinds of businesses on the left and the right. But I'm staying on this street because we're going towards the Coker University, so I can continue to talk about Cokers. So James Coker, when he was young, he went to school here in the Hartsville area. Way back when, before it was known as Hartsville, it was known as Society Hill. But then he went to Charleston and was at the Citadel. And then he went on to Harvard University, where he studied heredity and genetics. But then he also studied the scientific principles of farming. He married Sue Armstrong Stout in 1860, and they had several kids. I think it was 9 kids, and 6 lived to adulthood. But after graduation, he enlisted in the Confederate Army for the Civil War. He fought in the 6th and 9th Regiment of South Carolina. He was at the 1st Manassas, the 2nd Manassas, Battle of Harper's Ferry, and Antietam. He was wounded in one of the battles, and he spent time as a prisoner of war, too. And he spent the rest of his life nursing a shattered hip. In 1865, after the war, Coker set out with a large box of food supplies for the Confederate forces in Richmond. On his return to Hartsville, he learned that General Sherman's army had destroyed his family's farm. So, with the war ending and his farm destroyed, it was time for him to rebuild. He had cotton seeds and corn, and that he planted, and he had an old mule and an oxen that he borrowed from an uncle. He planted 60 acres of cotton and 40 acres of corn, which yielded 25 bales of cotton and 300 bushels of corn. And at that price, he brought home $1,700, which back then was a small fortune. Using those funds and others derived from the mortgaging some of his land, Coker founded several businesses that were highly successful, including a cotton and naval trading post in Charleston, the Darlington Manufacturing Company, the Hartsville Corn Mill, Hartsville Oil Mill, and the Pedigree Seed Company. So, as you can tell, we're down in the university area, the Coker University, so this was all because of him, basically. Back in 1881, he organized and was elected bank president of the Darlington National Bank, which was the only bank in the county. In 1890, Coker and his oldest son, James, began to search for a new way to turn southern pine trees into pulp for paper making, and 3 years later, they had perfected the process. So there was shipping costs for the pulp made the business unprofitable. So Coker purchased his own paper making equipment, and that resulted in the Carolina Fiber Company. And that was like in 1899. So he had several businesses. And now we're going to talk about Sunoco products. So Coker organized the Southern Novelty Company and later renamed it the Sunoco Products Company to use some of the paper to produce the cone-shaped yarn carriers. Today, Sunoco has over 19,000 employees in more than 335 operations in 33 countries. It is a member of the Fortune 500 and the S&P 400 and is South Carolina's largest corporation in terms of sales. So that's pretty interesting. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about this college since I'm driving through it all and everything. So it first began in 1894 as the Welsh Neck High School. And then in 1908 it became the South Carolina Coker College for Women. It was 1908 to 1969, and then it became Coker College from 69 to 2019, and now it's a university. So James Coker was instrumental in this place. He gave a $50,000 endowment in 1908 and an additional $600,000 during his years as president. He funded the construction of Davidson Hall, which is listed in the National Register of Historic Places, And then in 1913, the Memorial Hall was built, which was also added. So, yeah, as you can tell, James Coker was really important to the city of Hartsville. And that's about all I have to talk about right now. We're going to shut this video off because we're at 10 minutes. I have a blog. I'll put the link up in my description to this channel, and there will be a part 2 coming out talking about other things with Hartsville. So this is Angie from Tourangie.com. Come to my website, read my blogs, and make appointments so I can help you plan your next travel adventure. Talk to you later.